So will anybody else like to share, let us know about themselves, what they do, and kind of how they found out about the event we are having, what they are expecting?
I guess I should start next because I was the person who invited Deanne.
Okay.
And I heard about your group. You invited me. I'm not sure how you say your name, Oladele. Yeah,
it's Oladele.
Oladele.
Yes, Oladele. Yeah, but that's fine. Ola, people call me Ola, or they call me Dele.
Not these days. We need to say people's names, and yes. I'm keen to do it. I have in the past shortened people's names, but it's your name. That's the name your mom gave you.
Very true, very true.
I'm not very good at remembering names. It's not because I can't say it, I just know good at remembering names. So, I met you via LinkedIn, yes.
Yes.
There must have been a connection that and then I never normally just connect straight away. I look at what your profile is about and see that we have something in common. And yes, I found out recently, long story short, that I'm a mentor. Yes. And I'm quite keen to develop that skill that comes naturally to me. Yes. I didn't know I had it. It's just other people through LinkedIn told me, oh, you be my mentor. Yeah. And I'm like, really? So here I am. You invited me to your group, this meeting. So I'm interested to hear how I could help possibly within Luton. I presently volunteer at Greenhouse Mentoring.
Okay.
Yes, I do one-to-one mentoring. Well, I did group mentoring. I'm now moving into one-to-one mentoring. So, and I work at a school as a teaching assistant. That's not what I was doing before, but like I said, the universe has it that I've moved this way. So here I am.
Yeah, and that's actually that's very, very valid. I think I remember, seeing you on LinkedIn and then connecting. Just because of that, because of the coaching, the synergy. I think that would be the right word for it. And yes, and yeah, you are right. That's what we are about. But I'm going to go through it, like in more details, like as we, explore basically about the tight-knit, project. But that's what the focus group is about. It's about, the tight-knit project we are putting together. So I don't, will somebody else like to introduce themselves? Okay. I think what we do that we'll move on if, like everybody, everybody's fine now. So the tight-knit project, came about really because, COVID, it seems like, it's in the past now, but it's making, a number of people are getting COVID again now. So we know it's still around. But what it did, it exposed some, you could say, weakness, like, in our community, and in the society as a whole, like something that was covered by the media. But what has happened, or what I felt has happened is, as COVID has gone, the lesson that should have been learned from that is being lost. Weaknesses were exposed, holes were in a way revealed, in, you could say, the texture, of individuals' lives and in community as a whole. And those holes, have not been mended, it has not been put back together, and we are moving on. And what happens normally is like a situation like that will come back again, or might come back again, and then we'll be in the worst place because that has not been addressed. And that's what tight-knit is about, is to kind of explore more into those weaknesses and those holes, so that we can put together a project to tighten those holes and make our community stronger. So that's what it is about. Like we had a survey, and we had various questions in the survey. I think one of them was what are the main impact that COVID had on you? And I think that could be even rephrased in a different way. Like, how did you respond to working differently or not being able to work during the lockdown, restriction? Because I think that's the major thing about that time. This is the lockdown, and people were not able to work. So I don't know if somebody would like to share how that affected them. Like, did anybody, was anybody working like they used to work during the lockdown? Like everything was normal for them when it came to work. Was that the case?
Right there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't actually introduce myself. I was having problems with my microphone. Hi, my name is Steve. I'm pretty much a system architect as well. I did contact Delhi during the weekend as well, and he mentioned about this focus group that was going to happen on Friday. So that's the reason pretty much why I'm here as well. I do love the the phase is actually going with this in terms of empowering the youths and the society as well. I know it's pretty much tough as well. During COVID, I know it was really tough. People pretty much didn't have the ability to pretty much work from home, and most people pretty much got laid off, and it was pretty much tough for them as well. So during that phase, I do contact most of my colleagues. We got like a WhatsApp football group as well. So pretty much do try to contact people, see how they're doing. You do get the time where some people don't actually pick up the calls, and you can tell pretty much they're pretty much down as well. But end of the day, I think it's pretty much all about motivating people as well. For myself, during COVID, I would say I had any issues whatsoever. I think in a way, I looked at COVID as probably was a blessing in disguise as well. Pretty much that empowered me in terms of learning more skills and picking up new hobbies. And suddenly it's like, oh my God, I can become a plumber now. Start doing like plumbing stuff at home as well, and all that stuff. And well, yeah, that's that's how it went as well. But I know there were people who actually went through bad phases, and I think it got to a point people were pretty much drinking too much as well and smoking too much as well, because the mind was pretty much not really occupied, and they didn't pretty much know what to do as well. And it was really tough. And I think that's why you've got the case they were talking about it on the news in terms of people going into depression and all that stuff as well, because that was really tough. But I know it's not really gone. It's still there a little bit, but people are still feeling the past effect as well. But then again, it's how can we actually, I think what it is, people find it very hard to open up and talk about it as well. And they feel a bit kind of like shy about it. And I say that, well, there's nothing wrong, because end of the day, we're humans, and no one is perfect in this world entirely as well. So it happens. And so we just encourage people, pretty much wake up in the morning, just go for a jog, go for a walk in the morning as well, just to clear your head out, get some fresh air. It's really tough when you're actually locked in the house as well. I was telling us, I was like, so how about the prisoners? How did they cope then? And obviously they're actually in that small little cubicle, and we've got TV, Netflix, internet, kitchen, we can cook, we can eat, but we're just still bored. And I think it actually infected on the mental health as well. I think what it was, it's when you're used to doing something and suddenly that stops, it just affects you. It just affects you. And I did encourage people to, like, you can pick up music, reading, just pick up a hobby and just what you want to do just to get your mind occupied as well. And that's pretty much it, really, I would say.
Yeah, because I know just from having like a previous discussion with yourself, like you still had a bit more of the freedom to move about because of your background, but and which help. But I think with some people, like, you know, they could not move about, isn't it? And that really, really, you know, kind of affected them because they had to be at home most of the time, you know, and thinking about a lot of relationship, you know, were kind of physical, you know, or some people don't even really have a strong network because, you know, like normally you can go out and then just interact with people. But during the lockdown, that really, really changed, you know. Like, I don't know how many people were on Zoom before the lockdown, you know, that I've actually used Zoom. I don't know, like, who started using Zoom after the lockdown or virtual meeting? Who started doing that after the lockdown?
Yeah.
Yeah. So most of us, you know, did not really think about, you know, being online. And some people did not even have the equipment to be online. So those guys, you know, were really, really isolated, you know? Yeah. I don't know, like, is that the experience of anyone here? We'd like to share how that part of it affected you, you not being able to meet with people, you know, physically.
I think, yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, from a student standpoint, it was less about me not being able to see people, but kind of being locked in my student accommodation with the same people all the time was quite hard to deal with, because I had to spend my like birthday and Christmas with my flatmates and things like that. So it was like impossible for me to go home.
Yeah, that was, yeah, actually I forgot about that, about the Christmas that, you know, a lot of people were not able to mix. And yeah, it's just people that you were with, you know, that you were with basically, you know. And yeah, so thinking about that and the, you know, especially people that are not online, that made it even worse for them. At least, you know, people that can be online, they can see other people, and, you know, like that made a bit of a difference, you know. But, you know, like, but people that cannot even not online, so they cannot see anybody, you know, that was, you know, a lot more challenging. I don't know, what about self-employed people here? People that were self-employed, like, how did it affected you? You know, like, I don't know, is there any self-employed people here? Okay, yeah. Yeah, so how did it affect you?
Yeah, so a lot of my, because I do video marketing, so a lot of my projects were cancelled because obviously they didn't want people from the outside coming to their businesses and filming. So yeah, a lot of my projects were cancelled. I had quite a few projects with charities, and so because of the lockdown, they lost a lot of funding, so they can no longer then deliver the workshops or do the promotional video that we were discussing beforehand. And so then how I adapted to that, then I just started to try and do teaching people how to do their own videos online. So I started doing a kind of a course, and I had a number of charities get involved with that, and I was just teaching them how to plan, shoot, edit their own videos. But yeah, I lost a lot of work. I got a part-time job, so I was working in a warehouse for a bit, working in John Lewis and Milton Keynes. And yeah, many of the people there have been affected by COVID as well.
Yeah, because like I think that's a group that I've not really been spoken about a lot, you know, but we're really, really affected, you know, like, you know, self-employed people, you know, because especially like the ones that, you know, basically like their business involves being in contact with people. I know barbers, for an example, you know, and probably hairdressers as well. You know, they had a really challenging period that time. And then also what came up is how it affected, you know, like the BAME community, that it was very, very disproportionate, wasn't it? And that was getting, you know, really, really looked into.
Yeah.
You that was getting looked into. But one of the things that have come up, like in our, okay, just throwing this out there, do you, like, in relation to people's, like people's class, if you understand what I'm saying, like, middle class, COVID did really affect a different, class, in a different way as well, isn't it? I know, for an example, like in London, a lot of people moved away from London during that time, just so that they can escape the impact of COVID, because it was locked down. People that used to live in flats, for an example, if you have a garden, at least you can go to the back garden and get some fresh air. But if you are living in a flat, that's a lot more restrictive. That can do something to your head. And I think, like a lot of people actually moved from London to outside London during that time. So they were able to escape, like, what Steve was talking about, that restriction, that kind of you are in your own space and you are in your own head. But whereas people that were not in the same, you could say, a good financial situation, they were not able to, take actions like, like that. So it affected, you could say, like the poor communities. It impacted them, harder, you could say. So I don't know, like, do anybody have a story of that themselves, like of people they know from, you could say, that poor communities that,
Do you think the way I looked at it was that before COVID, people were quite selfish, but during COVID, people really sort of came together. And I think it was the people that didn't have much and didn't have the money. They were the ones who were stretching out a helping hand to other people. So I don't know that they suffered as much as they could have or would have, because that's when the communities came together and thought about the elderly woman next door that couldn't get out and do her shopping, or somebody that would need to be taken somewhere because they didn't have a car. So I think in some ways the lower class, or whatever you want to call it, they weren't impacted as much because their community came together and helped. Does that make sense? And then unfortunately, yes, now that COVID is over, we've sort of gone back in our selfish ways again, in that we are just looking after each other. And where the young people are concerned, I am of the opinion that it takes a village to raise a child. And I would like to see the village mentality come back, even though COVID is finishing or nearly over, because that was a very supportive time for people.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense, actually. Like the support that was available for people during that time. Like you said, the community come together. I know, like Luton Council, they did a kind of food program where, like, people were dropping off, shopping to, people they know that will need it, like the elderly, people that have disability maybe. So it's true that a community came around that time, and there was even a lot of discussion about isolation, isn't it? And the problem, but it seemed as, like you said, as COVID, has kind of gone away, or maybe has gone more to the background. It's like that community spirit is being lost again, like like Steve was saying, at that time, everybody was calling, people they know on a daily basis. people that have not called, people that have not called me for years now, I'm receiving phone call from them because everybody are now kind of thinking about everybody else. But as COVID has gone, like it seems like we have gone back to our old ways, and because of that, like you could say people that have been helped, then I can imagine that some of them are not getting those help anymore because COVID, COVID is basically it's gone to the background now. I know, for an example, the mental health, like almost like say crisis. I spoke to somebody from that background, and they said that the crisis was there already. It was just being ignored. That what happened was almost like COVID, brought it to the surface that it could not be ignored anymore.
There was a saying that came out around that time, around the COVID time. It's something, forgive me if I misquoted, but it's something like introverted people contact your extrovert friends. Yeah. And I had to think about it because I'm an introverted person. I'm quite to hibernate at this time of year. Don't call me, I'm quite happy for it. So when it was locked down, I'm like, oh yes, nobody has to go out. I don't have to be called out. Don't have to go anywhere. Yes. And so I had to make sure I contacted my extrovert friends who wanted to go out but couldn't go out. And that's, in that sense, is the communication, making sure there was more calls. But this year, don't have to do that.
Yeah, like, yes, yeah, you made a big point, like some people, like it did not affect them as much because they could, they could be by themselves, for months and there'll be no issues. But I know, like, I'll give an example, isn't it? Simon, like, Simon is a good friend. I know at that time, that really was, kind of, you have to make a lot of adjustments, isn't it? Because of, like, you are more of the extrovert, you like to be around people.
Yeah, I found it difficult in terms of identity because I think like everybody gets their identity from certain things. And with COVID, it was like all of those things were removed at the same time, I found, for me personally. So like work changed massively, like suddenly you weren't in an office anymore, you were having to do it from home. And I found I got put on furlough. So that was an adjustment. You couldn't do things like I enjoyed going off to watch the football. I couldn't do that. Couldn't go to watch sort of music. I enjoyed that. You couldn't go out and spend time like with friends, cinemas, restaurants. It all went at the same time, and I that's what I found was the challenge.
Yeah, like like people, like you said, isn't it? People that like to be outside, be around people, that really became a big challenge to them.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's kind of from our survey and even from the discussion now. Yeah, thanks, Cassia. Okay, thanks for joining us. What I'll do as well, I would post in the chat our social media, because from basically outcome of today, our plan is to put together a project to address the O's that we have, that we have discovered, and then address those O's, like we are planning a pilot project, which I believe, from what a lot of us here have said, is something that would be of interest to, I think, close to everybody here at this moment in time. So but we're going to update that on social media, or what we might do is contact, for an example, I know I'm connected to Sonia on LinkedIn, so I might contact you directly, to let you know how that's going to work. So, but if you can follow us on our social media, like connect with us on Facebook. I just posted our Facebook in the chat. And then also like we have a Instagram page as well. So if you can connect with us on there, that's where we're going to be updating about the pilot project that we are planning. So yes, it's based around what we have discovered, really, you know, and even from today, what we have discovered is that people that do not have a good people's network, you know, they suffered, they suffered, like the most, because that's one thing that lockdown did, those you could go into town and you could feel like, you're around people, you can go into the clubs, I feel like you're around people. But lockdown took that away for a lot of people. And maybe that should not have been the case in the first place, Those people should have been connected to people in the community that when, the lockdown happened, they have people they are connected to already. So that's kind of one of the things, that we are aiming for with the Tight-Knit, project, to, bring, people in the community together, especially those that are likely, that are isolating, like bring them, create something where they can come to, and then they can be with other people. Also, one thing that has arise from I think COVID started it, but then the war in Ukraine escalated that, is the energy crisis that's expected, during this winter. And one thing that we are planning to do with the project as well is to encourage, those people that have been outside, or they would have been at home, but they would have been cold, to create a space for them where they can come to during the day and they can be warm, but not just only warm and socialize with other people, but they can learn to achieve, their goals as well. So our aim is to find out what goals they have, especially the ones that they would like to achieve, but they are really, really struggling with, and then basically we put together a process that help people to work better at their goals, to teach them that, so they can basically do better at their goals. So that's one of the things we are aiming for with the project, teach people to be more effective at working on their goals. And then something else we are aiming for as well, we just, as part of that, we are encouraging people to basically have, financial goals to improve their finances, and then help them with those goals. It seemed like, I don't know, when I said that, did anybody feel uncomfortable when I said that about, about encouraging people to have goals for their finances and to improve their finances?
No, because at this moment we will be going through, and we are going through, cost of living crises. So if I consider myself to be a good money manager, if you haven't got enough income, you are going to struggle, irrespective of how well you are managing your money. If there is not enough, you will struggle. So it is a real fear for people now that they may not be able to pay their bills. So it would help if you did encourage people on how to manage their money. So I don't think anybody would feel embarrassed or feel a way about it. I think they would welcome any help or any little tips that you could give them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, because I think it can be almost like, to some extent, isn't it, like taboo, isn't it? Like people that are, like people that are, you could say maybe as not as well off, like it's okay to encourage them to go to food bank, it's okay to encourage them to go to charity shops, it's okay to encourage them to go for debt advice. But it seems like, to actually encourage them that, okay, let's work on you improving and then getting back in a better place financially, come across as a taboo in a way. I don't hear a lot of, charity organizations talking about that or other organizations. But this is something that's important, isn't it, really? Like, because every day, like, we almost like most of us, we spend money every day. And there's a lot of different, we have to pay taxes, we have to do shopping, we have to, have internet now, we have to have, So, but not a lot of people work on their finances, every day, or work on improving their finances, on a weekly basis.
But again, it's very difficult because becoming a cashless society, everything is card. So when you're flashing your card, you're not actually maybe keeping a track of what you're spending until it comes to the end of the month and you've got to pay the bill.
Yeah. And that is true. That's making a lot of people, like, kind of finding themselves, in a place that, it's not good financially. And that might even be a contributor to the mental health crisis. Because I don't know, like, okay, look, I think you can I can raise my hands up. I've been in a situation not too long ago, which is, really kind of, you could say, bad financially, and it did, some things in the mind, It did some things in the mind, and even I have a relative that kind of has, mental kind of, mental health is something that is, it's not kind of unusual now. So we can talk a bit more openly about it, And I have a relative that whenever, like, he's comfortable, he has a place to stay, like, he has food and all of that, it's cool. But once, his accommodations start to have issues, his source of income start to have issues, his mental health, just, so it is a contributor to that situation. So if you are able to encourage people to be in a better place financially, that will at least be one thing that's not going to be an issue for them in relation to that. So that's what the project, is about. Really, it's about bringing people together so they have stronger network, keep them warm, which is kind of actually becoming essential during this winter period, kind of coach them. And I think this is where a lot of people here, like, you can, really get involved, or you can participate, coach them to work on their goals, those goals that are important to them, like, it could be, getting out of debt, it could be getting into employment, like, the list goes on, the goals that are important to them. And then also coaching them to work on improving, their finances. And I've been in conversation with also, like, Minds, like a gentleman from the charity called Minds. It's like a mental health, like organization that help with mental health. And what we are hoping for is to, also teach people good practice regarding mental health. So more like preventive, because we know that, once, like, almost like once it's gone, it can be very, very challenging to get back. So it makes sense to just, teach people how to actually prevent, prevent it, So yeah, so that's kind of what the project is, the Tight-Knit project is about, really. I don't know, like Simon, team, do you have anything to add? Or they are they are Developwise, directors,
It's
Team
good.
Mason and
Sounds like
Simon.
very good. Sounds like a very good project. Yeah, we just need to yeah, it sounds really good. We need to just begin to run the first pilot and move forward like that, really. But it's very, very good. And it's things that are pressing or big needs at the moment, isn't it? Mental health is massive. The issue with people keeping warm is a massive issue. Finances is a massive issue. So these are things are big issues at the moment. So yeah, it sounds very good.
So yeah, what about you, Simon? Do you?
Yeah, I agree. I share Tim's enthusiasm, and I think there's a lot of need out there, and if we can go sort of some way to meeting that need, I agree with what you're saying about like the mental health, and just looking forward to the point that we could deliver a pilot really to start moving forward with things.
Yes, great. So does anybody have any question, or something they would like to add to basically, what has been said already tonight?
Sure. I know you did mention this is going to be the first pilot. So how are you going to proceed with this in the first stage?
Yeah, the first stage is basically, we aim to approach like organizations that basically will allow us to have a location, and then we're going to run the pilot there. So we're just going to be inviting people in the community to that location, and then like having like warm drink, provisions for them at that location, and then yeah, so that's how we initially plan to run the pilot, and then have like whoever I would like to. There's a procedure, process that we use for the coaching, and actually in relation to that is something that Diane is it Diane? Is that how you pronounce?
Yeah.
Deanne.
Deanne, sorry, Deanne. I know, I know my pronunciation can be before this. I'm always careful, So Deanne, so something like Deanne and Sonia and yourself, Steve. Because I know you have, three of you. From what you have said, you have a passion for mentoring, for coaching. I don't know about Alan. So something that maybe I could go through with you to let you see, the process of the procedure or the process of the coaching. And then you can work on it to develop it together as well. So you can contribute towards it as well, how you think it can be better. And then, yeah, we can work together on putting together the pilot. So, it's something that if you are interested in, you can contribute towards that. You can contribute towards the pilot yourself. I don't know, how does that sound?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And especially if you get a location for that as well, obviously, I don't know, is it going to be run on the weekend or weekdays or once a week, once a month, fortnightly?
Yeah, to be honest, like the plan is, you can do it every day, because we want as many people to, be able to, kind of learn how to achieve their goals, and then to learn to work on their finances regularly, because I think that's one thing that they don't teach in schools as well, unfortunately. They teach us math, they teach us all of those things, and they are, they are important. But when you go into the real world, bills have to actually, and then, but people are not taught that. Something that I've learned myself recently, and it's almost like, wow, I'm above 40, let's put it that way. And it's like, you start to realize that the importance of, you know what, you have to work on your finances regularly. Your finances is not just going to improve itself, you know.
Yeah.
Just like your health, you know, it's not going to just improve, and a lot of other things are not going to improve their self. It's something that you have to work at, you know, regularly, you know, because they are important. But people don't, you know, they don't realize that, you know. And a lot of times it's when people start to work on there, or some people, like Deanne said, you know, she knows about this. It's something that, you know, she knows about, but I'm pretty sure from what you are saying, a lot of other people that you know, they don't know about that. And that's why, you know, a lot of other issues, you know, is linked to poverty, you know, health issues, you know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of other issues is linked to poverty, but nobody is actually teaching people, you know, how to achieve their goals. You know, nobody is, you know, coaching them to improve their finances, you know. So, and that's, you know, one of the things, you know, that, you know, it's a passion really. And hopefully, you know, like the young people, especially young people from the BAME community, you know, because that's community that got affected by COVID as well, the most. And a lot of bad statistics, you know, are coming out of that community, because our community, you could say, in a way, because, you know, these things are not getting taught, you know. So, yeah, the aim is every day, but like there are different organizations that would like to support what we are doing, you know. So we are working on that, you know, and what we are going to do, we are going to update that on the social media. So if you can follow us on the Facebook page, you know, like and the Instagram, like when we are going to be updating about what's going to be happening in relation to the pilot, you know, it's going to be on there. And then also what I can do, I'll forward in the chat as well our email address, because we are working on we have a coming soon page for our website, but it's not live yet. But we have the email address that you can contact us on. So I'm going to forward the email address as well. So you can contact us, you know, so that we have your email, and then we can let you know what's going to be happening. But we are hoping to have the pilot, you know, in the next, I'll say by November, really, that the pilot, you know, will be going. And before then, you know, those people that are interested in coaching, we plan to have a meeting, you know, like with those people, show them the process that we use for coaching, and then give them an opportunity to give recommendations, to give feedback, so we can improve that. And then also to support us in relation to, you know, delivering the projects. So I hope does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. That's good. Brilliant.
Yeah, great. So is there any other question or, you know, recommendation, feedback, you know, would somebody else like to say anything? Okay, I think, yeah, that's it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to forward our email address, our Facebook page and our Instagram page. They're already in the chat. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to forward our email address as well. And I know I'm connected with Sonia on LinkedIn, so I will be in touch as well, just to discuss, you know, the, you know, coaching, or yeah, it's more coaching, but it could be mentoring as well, to discuss it further. And then, yes, so, okay, I think, yeah, we're probably gonna finish the focus group, you know, on that. Do you have any words, you know, the directors, you know, do you have any words to share, Simon?
No, I think you've done a good job of giving a good overall, really, Deli, of what we're about and what our aims are. And you know, what people can expect moving forward. And, you know, hopefully soon we'll have more updates in regards to the pilot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I second that.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for attending. What I'll do now, I actually stop recording. So if I can find how you stop recording, you know, like, but let me, yeah, I do apologize. I'm just gonna stop recording, and then, yeah, I'm good. Okay, I'll find